Hunt, fish, listen, repeat. Broadcasting from the Tazin Lake Lodge Studios, this is Sporting Journal Radio. Presented by OnX. Know where you stand with OnX. Now here's your host, Bret Amundson.
There it is. Doesn't get much better than sunrise over the Rainy River, and that's where we were here the last couple of days, or at least that's where I was. Welcome to the show. I'm Bret Amundson. Thank you for tuning in on this station right here by listening on demand at sportingjournalradio.com or by downloading that podcast wherever you get your favorite podcasts. That's Dan Amundson over there. Dan, how you doing?
Doing pretty good.
Also, thank you for watching this. If you're watching it on YouTube or Facebook, make sure you smash that like button, right? That's how you have to say it?
I don't know.
Smash that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, comment below if you're watching this. It helps us get this video out to more people. So if you enjoy what you're watching, please share it, like it, subscribe to us, all that good stuff. We're trying to bring you the most up-to-date outdoor information for the region. So we're going to give you migration reports, fishing reports, tips, and just kind of keep you updated with what's going on right now. So we were up at Lake of the Woods, so we're going to talk about what you need to know if you want to go fish the Rainy River this fall, or if you ever want to plan a trip to the Rainy River, what you're going to need to know to go up there and fish Lake of the Woods this time of year. We're also going to talk about Northern Lights because it seems like it happens every time, Dan, when we're on a trip, all of a sudden somebody will step outside, after dark or something, and like, oh my gosh, there's Northern Lights out here. So then I have to go get all my camera equipment and try to get pictures and videos, which we did up at Lake of the Woods. So we're going to show you some of that footage. And if you want to try to take pictures of Northern Lights, there's a couple of tricks to it. And we're going to give you some helpful advice on taking some Northern Light photos and photography. And then while we were up there, we stayed at Riverbend Resort. We sat down at one of the tables, and we got a whole bunch of people together for a podcast, including Paul Johnson, the owner of Riverbend. We got Dena Vick from King Eider Communications. She brought up some canoes for us to fish out of while we were up there. We had Brian Smith from Riverbend, and then we also had Greg Jones from Midwest Outdoors. And Greg, I didn't realize this, but Greg pretty much grew up on the Rainy River, so he's going to talk about that experience and share a little insight with us on how the Rainy River works this time of year, because he's been fishing it pretty much his whole life. Dan, who sponsors this week's show?
This week's show is brought to us by Lake of the Woods Tourism. Plan a trip to Lake of the Woods at Lake of the Woods MN. Ottertail.
MN.com.
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 You got to add that .com part in.
I got you.
Thanks. Ottertail Lakes Country. Find your inner otter at ottertaillakescountry.com. Haybell Heights Campground and Resort on Devil's Lake. Plan a trip to Devil's Lake at haybellheights.com. OnX Hunt, know where you stand with OnX. Prairie Sportsman, watch episodes anytime at prairiesportsman.org. Mid-Migration Outfitters, come hunt geese out at the famous Lac Parle Refuge, and heated pits and comfortable blinds. Learn more at midmigrationoutfitters.com. And Tazin Lake Lodge, plan a trip of a lifetime to catch giant lake trout and pike at tazinlake.com.
We've been waiting for this weekend for a long time. Some of the other states around here have already opened up their pheasant seasons, but for us here in Minnesota and then non-residents for some of the other states, I think Wisconsin opens this weekend, their pheasant season. I think it's a traditional pheasant opener in South Dakota, so you can go hunt in South Dakota this weekend. You can hunt North Dakota. I think pretty much it's wide open after this weekend. Feels late. We've been seeing roosters all over the place, but the Minnesota openers this weekend, and if you're planning on going out and hunting in Minnesota for pheasants, we do have a pheasant report from Jared Wickland on Facebook and YouTube too, or just
you bet, both.
Facebook and YouTube. You can watch that
and
now.
Rumble.
And you can even that's
on
right,
Rumble now.
Rumble. You can go watch us on Rumble now too. Thank you for watching us, by the way. But Jared Wickland gives us a Minnesota pheasant report as well too. But I'll tell you right now. Combines prior to the rain anyway, and prior to the colder weather, the combines were running pretty much nonstop. So a lot of corn has come off, a lot of beans have come off. There is still some standing crop out there. The conditions changed a little bit here at the end of the week, so things got a little bit cooler. So she's going to be a little bit cooler out there, maybe kind of breezy, and it's probably going to be packed. So and if you're, I would say don't even come around where we're going to hunt, Dan.
Don't even hunt.
It's going to be way too busy. I wouldn't even come around here.
Anywhere.
But if you're going to be hunting public land, you're going to want to get there early because a lot of the public stuff is going to be jam-packed this year. But conditions should be fairly well. I will say with all that rain that we got here this week, it's going to be muddy in places. I saw a bunch of harvested fields with tractor ruts that were filled in with water. So there's been a lot more water on the landscape than there was prior to a week ago. So you might get your feet wet a little bit when you're out there stomping around for pheasants. North Dakota, I didn't realize they did this last year too, Dan?
Yep. Yeah, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, actually.
Oh, did we?
That they had done it last year, that deer hunters can get a refund if they want, if they're hunting in an area where they found EHD, because we talked about that.
Oh, yeah, because apparently it's not, I've always called that blue tongue. I think most people call EHD blue tongue. It's the epizootic hemorrhagic disease. I guess doing a little bit of research, there might be something similar that's called blue tongue. I don't know. I've always called the two things the same thing, but maybe there's something a little bit different. But basically, it's like blue tongue. And it's happened quite a bit in North Dakota this year.
Yeah, again, just like last year, it's kind of the same area. I think it's more out by Bismarck where they're
Western
finding
North
it.
Dakota, yeah.
Yeah, so if you're hunting out in that area and you don't want to shoot a deer with EHD, you can go get your license refunded for this year and back out of it. I'm
surprised at that because I know when I used to have Doug Lear on the show all the time, he always used to stress that just buying a license doesn't guarantee you a deer. So some people complain that, oh gosh, I bought this license, I didn't shoot a deer because this, or this. Sorry, it just gives you the right to be able to hunt deer. So I'm kind of surprised they're giving refunds. But if a lot of that whitetail population in those counties has been wiped out, then I can understand, well, if you don't have, if there's no deer there, I get it. But EHD can be very local. So they also recommend that you check with your local game warden or DNR rep or the neighbors, whatever. And if you might have deer around. So before you ask for a refund, make sure that your deer where you hunt have specifically been affected. And EHD, so this is what EHD is. It's a naturally occurring virus that is spread by a biting midge. It's often fatal to infected white-tailed deer, while mule deer do not usually die from this disease. Hunters, it doesn't affect humans. So if you do shoot a deer that had gotten bit, the virus that causes EHD is not known to cause disease in humans. In addition, the first series of hard frosts typically kills that midge that transmits the EHD virus and will slow or halt the spread of disease. So we need a cold, and there's been a couple of 30-degree, upper 30s, low 40s in the region. So pretty soon, hopefully, that midge will be long gone, and we won't have to worry about losing any more deer. In Wisconsin, Dan, I get it. It can be low-light conditions. You can see a big-bodied animal coming through the woods towards you. But the Wisconsin DNR is stressing, do not shoot an elk or a moose during the deer hunting season. So bow hunting is going on over there in Wisconsin. The gun deer season doesn't start till that Thanksgiving week. But they're stressing, do not shoot. It's funny that we have to talk about this.
Well, you know how many times, we've both deer hunted Wisconsin for a long time. You know how many times I've looked through my scope at a deer and, is that an elk? Is that a moose?
So many times.
Just every time.
There are some moose and elk, and obviously we don't hunt near the elk herds. Or we didn't grow up hunting near the elk herds, so for us, I mean, it's more of a local thing. Northern Wisconsin, the moose kind of travel. There's not a lot of them, but they'll move around. So anyway, don't shoot a moose or an elk. Be aware, and that's rule number one, just about in hunter safety, isn't it? Is always know your target. It's one of the rules, 10 commandments of firearm safety is always know your target that you're shooting at.
Beyond? That's
right. South Dakota. This was an interesting. So the traditional pheasant season opens this weekend in South Dakota too. You have a possession limit of, so it's 3 birds a day, and then it's 5 days of limits that you can possess once we hit the 5th day, of course. But 15 pheasants in South Dakota is your limit. I don't pheasant hunt in South Dakota too often. I didn't realize you can keep that many, but I guess if you take a 5-day trip to South Dakota, then it makes sense. You can shoot your limit of birds every day, and then still come back and you can hunt each day and shoot your limit for a 5-day trip over there. So shooting times 10 a.m. to sunset. Now in South Dakota, they use the central time zone throughout the entire state for your shooting hours. So 10 a.m. to sunset all season long. And that goes until January 31st. So October 16th through January 31st is your pheasant season in South Dakota. Residents had a 3-day season last weekend, the 9th, 10th, and 11th. But non-residents or anybody else can hunt October 16th through January 31. What's going on in Iowa?
Yeah, I thought this was kind of interesting just because we're experiencing something similar, at least in our neck of the woods, with Marsh Lake. But their Lizard Lake, they began a resurgence of this about 10 years ago. It's a 270-acre, it's a shallow lake. They drew the water out of it to try to kill the carp population and establish the vegetation back to help the ducks. And they're saying it's booming now. They're seeing cranes that they'd never seen before, and there's ducks and coots and wildlife all over the place. And so in that 10 years, I'm sure it sucked, just like having Marsh Lake drawn down sucks for some hunters for now. Yeah. But in the long run, it's going to be good. And it's doing good stuff in Iowa, so I hope it does the same thing here in our neck of the woods.
And apparently restoring lakes makes Dan very blurry. So we're going to restore our own blurriness here on the show as we continue bringing you the latest from the outdoors, including how the Rainy River went for us. We were up at Lake of the Woods. We fished up there Monday and Tuesday, or I did with some friends, as we tried out some new products and took some pictures and did some filming up there. And I get excited about the Rainy River in the fall because when that shiner run is on and those big walleyes come up into the river, the boats just stack up and you can sit in. I'm not going to call it easy fishing, but you just got to kind of go out in the middle, find a couple of those holes you can anchor up and jig or drag jigs, or you can troll. So guys will troll cranks through the river there too, but it's a jig bite most of the time. Although I will say this, while we were up there, we did go out and fish the main lake a little bit. And what we heard for October, Dan, is the big fish are biting on spinners.
Really?
Yeah, that's what we said. Huh. Everybody we talked to said, nope, jigging, catching little ones, catching eaters. How about any slot fish? Before we got there, they were catching some slots, but when we got there was 0 slot fish getting caught. So the bite was tough. Now, we caught fish. We ate plenty of walleyes. We caught plenty of eaters, but the big fish were tough, and we tried vertical jigging. Some people talk about live shiners. Some people talk about frozen shiners. We used frozen shiners while we were up there. I've also heard it doesn't matter. Everyone we talked to is like, we caught them on live ones. We caught them on dead ones. But we had frozen ones, and then we used crawlers with spinners, and we caught a bunch of eaters on spinners too. Now, when we did fish the lake, if we've got that, there is a video. Dan, why don't you do the boat bouncing through the gap video, if you can find that. And believe me, I'll get the focus here for a minute. But when we did fish out in the lake, she was a little bouncy out there, so conditions were a little tough. If you can see in the background there, by the way, that's a boat that flipped over. And if you are out there, if you're not in a big enough boat, or you don't have experience in some bigger waves, you can get in a little bit of trouble. So they were backing up, had a wave crash over the back of the boat, and it sank it. And they were fishing next to some buddies, so their buddies came over and they jumped in their boat and watched their boat basically sink and then get pushed up against the shallow, kind of that shallow sand next to the gap there. And then it caught the shore, caught that sand, and flipped. So it didn't flip until they were after the boat. Everyone's fine. Everyone was safe, but it was an ordeal getting that boat flipped back over. I know the guys that towed that boat back. So Cody, thanks for some of the images that you sent me. Thank you very much. But glad to hear everyone is okay. But just know, if you're going to go fish the big lake, if it gets windy, you can fish it in small boats on calm days. But if that wind kicks up a little bit, you want to be a little careful out there. And she was a little bouncy. But the first day we fished, though, Dan, was pretty calm, and we fished out of canoes, these Eskeef canoes. And this is Dena Vick, and she brought these 2 canoes on this trailer. And play that video again, Dan, real quick if you can, because check out this trailer that she brought them. And she's got her bikes on there. She's got storage lockers. She's got rod lockers. She's got a Yeti strapped in the middle. That's made by On the Water Innovations, and they are from North Carolina, I believe, Asheville, I think, something like that.
Wrong guy.
Yeah, well, it's a custom-built trailer, and it's full of LEDs and ground effects lights, and it's a beautiful trailer. And it holds all that. You can put a 3rd canoe up on the top. So this thing can hold 3 canoes. It's got the 2 rod lockers. It's got that storage box up in the front. And then she's got that cooler strapped down in the middle, plus the bike rack on the front too. So it's a pretty cool deal. And those canoes, so that blue Eskeef canoe right there, she fished out of that while we just kind of filmed her from a camera boat after that. And that canoe right there is 40 pounds. And basically, I carried it one-handed up and down when we put the canoe in and took the canoe out, I just carried it up one hand. So nice and light. It's a T4Mex material is what it's called. and I can't remember. So there's like, it's like two foam. I'd have to look it up again, but there's like two foam layers, I think, and a core. Anyway, it's light. It's
and
light
durable.
And that's a one-person canoe. So I think that was like a 12-footer or 13-footer, something like that. If the Eskeef guys watch this, they'll correct me if I'm wrong.
Comment below.
Yes, yes, comment below. But the other canoe I'm really excited about, because that's a squareback camel canoe with 3 seats in it. It weighs about 70 pounds, and we're going to do some duck hunting out of that over the next couple of weeks out here, Dan. So we can put a 3-horse motor on the back. So I think we're going to put a 3-horse Yamaha motor on the back of that and go out and shoot some ducks back home here. But Dena did some fishing out of that smaller canoe. That was the Adirondack that she was fishing out of, and it was hard. It was beautiful on the Rainy River, by the way, and it was hard to concentrate because there was geese flying all over the place while we were up there, Dan. So where we were, we went in on we put in at Vitus and then went down to Clemenson. And as we were doing that, there were geese. They were on the Canadian side, but they were feeding in a field on the Canadian side. And it was so noisy. It was like we had to yell to talk to each other in the boat because there were so many geese stacked up over there. It was very distracting. It was awesome. But when we went into that bay, it's a rapid river that comes in. You drive over it when you're driving along the Rainy River, and there's some rapids there. It's Clemenson. There were so many shiners in there that when we came in, they were getting chased by fish. I'm sure walleyes, maybe bass, northern. This is a shot right at the access when we went in. You can even see the shiners in that clear water there right at the access. And then when we swung around and went down into the bay, this is going into the bay. Yeah, fast forward a little bit to, we can't see the time code there, can we? But yeah, go forward a little bit more. The shiners were jumping out of the water like crazy. Oh, yeah, maybe let her play here. I bet they'll start jumping this corner. Yeah, see, look at that. And it was like every 15, 20 seconds, 30 seconds or so, there was another wad of shiners just jumping out of the water. And sometimes we'd spook them when we come by with the boat. They just get excited and jump up out of the water. But obviously, I think something was there feeding on them. And it was pretty cool to see. So fishing was tough. Because I suppose it'd be like going to an all-you-can-eat buffet and trying to sell somebody a cheeseburger. Like they're like, hey, I got all this food. Yeah. I don't need your cheeseburger. I got sweet and sour chicken over here that I'm gonna dine on. But look at all those shiners jumping out of there. That was it was pretty wild. And I actually, while we were at Riverbend, I went down on the dock and looked. They had some lights on the docks, and all the resorts up there have lights on the docks, and they have traps to catch some shiners. And actually, Border View had a video on their dock. They have a camera right on their dock. Look at all the shiners there, and there's a reason they're jumping up out of the water, and you'll see why here in 1 second. Look at that big walleye coming in there. Turn it, turn it, turn it, turn it, turn it, turn it, turn it. It comes in and just feasts on these shiners that are spinning around under that light. And some of those resorts then have licenses to trap bait and sell bait and use it with their clients and things like that. It's just cool to see. If you ask me, it's a pretty neat experience. And then I was up there for a couple of nights, and I had gone to bed one night, and I get a phone call while I'm laying in bed there, from Brian Smith saying, hey, you need to come out here and check this out. Walk outside, I look up, northern lights everywhere, Dan. Mm-hmm. It was way cool, and we were kind of in the parking lot behind the cabins, so this is looking by the Riverbend Bar, looking to the north, and there's a car coming in. But there's a time lapse that I filmed of these northern lights. Play that one more time, because it goes by kind of fast. But I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So then we sat there, and Dena came out, and we were watching these northern lights. She had never seen them before. She's going to talk about that experience later in the show here, actually. And then they kind of dimmed out, so like, the show must be over. And then they started to pick back up again. I'm like, gosh, I should go down. I'm going to go down behind the resort, down on the Rainy River down there, and then sit on one of the decks that Riverbend has and see if I can get the northern lights over the river. I didn't think anything was going to happen, and it was way cool. Like, it was an unbelievable show that the Northern Lights put on, and it was just completely by accident that we happened to catch them and see them. And we got real excited. And the next night, according to all the forecasts, so you can get an app. So here's a couple of tips if you want to film some northern lights. Is first of all, there's a couple of forecast websites that you can check out, and then there's an app that I found while I was doing this called Aurora that you can download, and it gives you a forecast of what the northern lights are supposed to be like and where the best viewing locations are. And what it is it's there's usually a band that comes down from the Arctic or comes down across Canada, and usually like northern Minnesota will cover that. That night, that Northern Lights show, Dan, I heard from people in the middle of North Dakota. Our neighbor down here saw him here in kind of southern central Minnesota. I heard reports of northern lights from all over the place, so that was a pretty good show. And then they're like, yep, it's going to happen again the next night. And everybody, I know I wasn't the only photographer sitting out there the next night just waiting, for, I don't know if you got any more of those videos from the next night pulled up. But you don't. Well, anyway, we went out there, and like the whole crew, we were all sitting out there until 2 o'clock in the morning waiting for the northern lights to show up. And there was 0 northern lights. So we just saw a bunch of stars. And
yeah, at night. And so I know some people had seen them that night too, but it got cloudy that day. I think at least it got cloudy down here. So
well, it was crystal clear where I'm going to try to find something here real quick. It was crystal clear where we were because I took pictures of all the stars.
That's
and
right.
I'm going to see if I can find this real quick. I suppose it's in this one right here. But so a couple of tips if you want to, like here's one right here. So that's all of us just waiting there, just waiting for the northern lights to show up. We're sitting outside waiting and waiting and waiting, and then they never showed up.
Still waiting.
It's still waiting, and let's see if I can find. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find this one or not, but I took a picture that I want to show. Well, anyway, it's on the Sporting Journal Radio Facebook page. I believe I put it on there. You can go check it out. I said zoom in and count the stars because there's so many stars over the Rainy River. That's how clear it is. And when you get away from the city, then you can see the sky a lot better when you don't have all that light pollution. But anyway, if you want some tips, get a forecast. And then a lot of people are trying to film them with their phones, it's real tough. You might just have to take a still shot because your phone will brighten up the sky a little bit better for you. They'll kind of a longer exposure, and you'll be able to see the northern lights a little bit better after you take a picture. But even filming with my big expensive camera gets real tough unless you're doing a time lapse where you can rip open that ISO a little bit. So my biggest tip is just sit back and enjoy them because it's a pretty cool experience. And they're caused by electromagnetic fields, and then it's gases. What is it, Dan? You looked up.
It's collisions from like gaseous particles or protons or science words, and then they collide with other particles from the sun's atmosphere. They kick out and they collide, and we get this show, and it's beautiful
because science.
Yeah,
well, I think it's those explosions reflecting off the Arctic. Isn't there something reflecting off the Arctic ice?
I didn't read anything about that, but. I remember learning in school once that it was Paul Bunyan and Babe fighting up in the Arctic.
There you go. I like that explanation way better.
Yep.
Somebody that makes more money than us knows the answer.
Yes.
Go ask them. But in any case, they're really cool to see, and we had a great time up at Lake of the Woods. And you can hear more about our trip coming up here in just a little bit. So if you're watching this, please comment, like this, share it. Or know that we've got a full podcast coming from the guys up at Lake of the Woods from our time up there. And we're only going to be able to share part of that on the radio show. So if you're listening to this on the radio station, you're only going to get an edited version of that long. We talked for an hour. And you're probably going to get about a half hour, maybe half of that interview in this week's show, maybe even only about 20 minutes. So if you want the full thing, you'll find it on the Finding Fins Fishing Podcast or the full-length Sporting Journal Radio Podcast, or you can watch it on Facebook or YouTube. Just follow us on social media, and you'll be able to find all the information about it, or go to sportingjournalradio.com. And before we get into that interview here in just a second, we did lose someone in the fishing community. Pete Harsh passed away the other day. So I saw this going around Facebook quite a bit from Artie Arndt about it, from Artie's Bait and Tackle in Ortonville. So we'll leave you with this, and we'll come back with our podcast from Lake of the Woods.
852 million acres of public land, 147 million private properties, all in the palm of your hand. The #1 hunting GPS app just got better. With hundreds of custom map layers, 3D and topographic maps, you can easily scout on the road or at home before you go. And now you can get important weather details, CWD detection, and even know what crops have been planted where. Get the most trusted hunting GPS app ever made. OnX. Know where you stand with OnX. Devil's Lake is legendary, and this summer has been legendary for walleyes. Don't miss out. Call Haybale Heights Campground and Resort today to book one of their modern cabins on East Bay. The cabins are furnished with a full bathroom, kitchen, and all the amenities like high-speed internet, and are clean following CDC guidelines. Staying at Haybale Heights gives you full access to a private boat launch, fish cleaning station, and beach area. Learn more at haybaleheights.com. That's haybaleheights.com. Plan your trip to legendary Devil's Lake today. Okay, welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. We are on location today. If you're listening to this on the radio show, thank you for listening to this radio station. If you're downloading the podcast, thank you for doing that as well, too. If you're streaming it on demand at sportingjournalradio.com, thank you very much. Maybe you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook. As you can see, we're not in our normal studio. We are at this place right here, Riverbend's Lake of the Woods. It's the resort, and we're with the guys here from Riverbend. Guys and girl and whatever, we're kind of hanging out here. Paul Johnson, Riverbend, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Brett.
Good.
Yourself?
I'm doing all right.
Awesome. Thanks for coming up and visiting us.
Yeah, you bet. Why can't I hear you? Try that again.
Hey, Brett.
There we go.
1, 2, 3.
That's better. All right. How's it going, man?
I'm doing good. Doing good.
Good. Thanks for having us up here, of course.
Absolutely.
Can you hold that just a hair closer, though, when you do that?
Absolutely.
There you go. All right. Good. Tell everybody where we are, what you guys do here.
So we are Riverbend Resort up on Lake of the Woods. We're located on the Rainy River. Just a short boat ride through 4 Mile Bay, and you're out on the lake. Being on the river as well, it kind of gives you access to go both directions. We're right smack dab in the middle of it up here.
Yeah. It's a cool place here, and we're eating some fish that we caught. Greg, you cleaned those fish. Greg Jones is with us.
They're delicious.
Yeah. Is there any bones in there?
No bones.
No bones? Okay, good.
Tried out that new fillet knife.
Yeah. What did you think of that new fillet knife?
It's nice, light, flexible blade. Got used to it yesterday and went through them a lot faster today, so I liked it.
Yeah, and that's from Smith. Dena and Dena Vick is with us as well. King Eider Communications. Tell us about that. Now, what knife were we using? Who's that from?
From Smith's Products.
Grab the microphone right there. Smith's Products.
Smith's Products.
Very cool. So it was kind of nice to have some new knives to try out. We got to test out some new canoes while we were out here. We caught a bunch of fish. Of course, it's Lake of the Woods. And this time of year, Paul, can be a really good time for fishing up here, can it?
Oh, yeah. This is like the culminating part of the year that kind of sets the whole rest of the seasons off. The shiners are running up the Rainy River, and those walleyes are following. They come in, they purge, and the fall time is some of the best times to get some big walleyes up here.
Yeah, of course. And we caught some smallmouth, and I've seen some other nice fish getting caught too. And Brian Smith is with us too. Brian, how's it going?
It's going good, man.
Good. Let's just get everybody.
Thanks for remembering me.
Let's just get everybody introduced real quick here on the show.
I'm also with Riverbend Resort.
Yeah. So before we kind of talk about what we're doing up here and what's going on, Brian, I think we should just start off with what we witnessed last night. So basically, I went to bed, and then I'm laying there, and my phone goes off, and I'm like, "Why? Who's calling me right now?" And here it's Brian calling me and saying you need to come outside. And what did we see when we came out there?
Absolutely spectacular Aurora Borealis. It was probably one of the best shows that I've ever seen in my lifetime of all the northern travel that I've done. And I think I tried to start getting a hold of you sometime just after 11, and I was like, oh man, he's had a long day, he traveled, they got out on the water, they were, getting some fish, getting some great pictures of the area. So finally it was about midnight, and I'm like, try to call you, and I just sent you the picture. And it was classic, by the way, because you had to have been just waking up. Do you remember what you texted me back?
Something about
Northern Lights? Question mark. I was like, no,
oh my
man.
gosh.
The ice cream trucks and stuff. So anyway,
Which
so we
I
comes
would have got
out.
excited about that as well. Let's be honest.
Right. Now, you correct me if I'm wrong, though. I mean, we had from sometime around 11 o'clock last night to had to have been around 2 in the morning or something like that, that it just lasted and lasted. And just about every aspect of what anybody has ever seen for Northern Lights, anything from the mist and the haze to the beams to all the dancing, and then the crazy part is when the sky started to pulsate really late at night. And I think you and I both were like, what is that? You know? But it was awesome. It really was. I mean, it's so spectacular to be here. And that's the great thing about being up here and coming fishing and stuff. I mean, for some reason, this part of the world really attracts that kind of, I mean, when they say the Northern Lights are going to come, even though it might be for Kenora, we get it.
Yeah.
You know, Kenora's way up in Canada. But anyway, we get them. We get them right here.
It's not that far from us, though.
Far enough.
Yeah, it's not that far. No, and the last few times I've seen Northern Lights, and I've seen some pretty good shows, but I feel like I'm always surprised by it. Like, oh my gosh, there's Northern Lights. So I'm grabbing camera gear and I'm trying to remember how to take Northern Lights pictures because it's not easy to do. And I'm trying to get videos and time lapses and it's been something of a mission of mine to try to get good Northern Lights photos and good Northern Lights videos, and definitely got some of the best ones that first night. And as of this recording, we found out that they're going to appear again the next night. So we're going to go out there again and hopefully see those Northern Lights again.
Oh, absolutely. And by the way, I noticed you posted some wonderful pictures. So anybody that's listening or watching us right now, literally get on to Bret's, all of his social media and check that stuff out. It's really super cool.
Yeah, I put a couple pictures on Sporting Journal Radio on Facebook, and then you guys shared them, I think, on the Riverbend Facebook page too. So
absolutely.
Follow both of those if you're not. Check them out, of course. And if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, make sure you give us a like, comment below, share this with your friends, and tell everybody this is the greatest show you've ever watched in the history of shows, please, because why not? I think it is, but I'm a little biased. So, Dena, you'd never seen Northern Lights before. Grab a microphone there and tell us about it.
Total bucket list thing for me, and so it was great.
Yeah.
The fact that you got up here like the day that they showed up is a coincidence, maybe?
I don't know. Maybe it was just meant to be.
And it was pretty funny because every time they'd start to dim out, we'd be like, oh, I guess the show's over, you know? So like, oh, I guess maybe we'll get to bed at somewhat of a respectable hour, you know? No. Then it'd get bright again. And then they'd start to dim. I'm like, all right, maybe that's the end. And I think, Dena, you're like, yeah, I'm going to go to bed before it gets bright again or whatever.
Right.
So she walks away. It gets bright again.
And then it's back out again.
Well, and then Brian and I were hanging out there for a little while, and then it starts to dim. So then Brian takes off, and I'm just bound and determined to get good footage of these Northern Lights. So I'm like, I'm staying out here till the bitter end. If I got to wait till the sun comes up, I don't care. This is happening. And all of a sudden they start rippling. And then I think I hear Dena's voice. I'm out there for like another hour by myself, and all of a sudden I hear Dena's voice. And here, you guys just walked up the hill.
Yeah, we did. I was going to say, we went to the front, and we saw him again, and that's when it started to pulsate. And I saw Dena come outside to get something out of her car, and I go, hey, Dena. She didn't know where I was at. She's like looking all around, went, hello? And I was like, no, I'm over here. Come here, look at this. And it was, again, it was just spectacular. So, yeah, we were out there for quite a while longer.
But I have to say I'm glad that you guys were there, because I wouldn't have known, because I see all the pictures, you know, and I think a lot of people do. I posted it today, and people were asking me about it, and they're like, oh, it really looks like that. And so I expected to see this bright green electrifying things, and it kind of gets that way, and your pictures look that way. But in the beginning, it was just, you know, kind of that, I don't know, cloudy white kind of
looks like kind of a
color.
white cloud, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. So I wouldn't have known
hue
that.
Almost.
Yeah, it's a hue. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's a hue.
I wouldn't have known
Like a
that's
fall.
what I was looking at. I thought it was the lights of a city because I'm from the city. And then that's when you said, no, that's the lake. There's nothing there. And I went, oh,
there's no
got
lights.
it.
There are
Got
no
it.
lights under the lake there.
The only lights are in Kenora.
Yeah.
That's a long way.
Long way away. Yeah, way out there.
Yeah. So, and when you go further north, you will start to see some purples and some brighter colors in them. And once in a while, you'll get some of those colors down here. Probably a little bit later in the year, maybe more towards winter. You'll see them like that here. But then we did get to see him, like it just was kind of that dull hue, and you'd see a little bit of dancing in there. And then as the night went on and they came back, boy, they put on a pretty good show for us here.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I said, it was really spectacular.
So I remember, and it was like we had a moment out there, Brian, a little bit.
We did. Dude, that was so funny because I was going to walk away, right?
Yeah.
I was going to walk away. And all of a sudden, the sky began to pulsate, right? It's just like looking at, if you can imagine in your mind looking across the top of a lake, just a rippling lake, but in that repetition of motion. And there was all this silence. I said, man, what do you think causes that? And he goes, I really don't know. And so there was this moment of silence, and I went, well, man, I can honestly say that you and I have had a moment.
Yeah, it was one of those nights. And what I thought
it was one of those nights.
You know, we were trying to figure it out, and it was just enjoying the show and checking out Mother Nature. And then you were telling me about sitting out here for a meteor shower one night.
Oh yeah, for the oh gosh, what is it called?
Perseid.
Yeah. So we
Perseides.
Yeah, the Mercedes.
I don't know. It starts with a P, ends with a.
I know. Gosh. All right, so forgive me on butchering that. Anyway,
doesn't matter.
The Perseides, I believe. But that was in August, I believe, and so we went over to Grayson Beach, which is just down the road from us, and we got a spectacular show. And my daughter Maya, who works up here with us as well, she had a professional camera, or has a professional camera like you have, and she was getting all these spectacular shots and everything. But I tell you something, one of the things that not a whole lot of people know about this area as well, and I don't know why it's not more talked about, is the meteors that actually crash here, right here. So I want to say it was last November, maybe a year ago, when we were out on the back patio and we had the fire rings out there, and we saw one coming from basically the south, and it flashed. And it flashed again when it got over one of our neighboring resorts, and then it flashed again over the top of us, and then it disappeared out over the lake. And not too long after that, we heard the boom where obviously it hit, either somewhere in the lake or a landmass or an island or whatever. And then it was a few minutes after that we felt the shock that come through.
That's crazy.
And it shook the trailers out there and everything, and it was just amazing. And then in August, during that one of the guys that works here actually saw a couple of them actually crash over here in Canada. So I mean, it's kind of crazy spectacular for all that kind of stuff. I mean, so you're coming up here and you're going fishing and you're bringing your family up here, and you're having a good time here, and then who knew you could just go outside and enjoy all of that too, right? I mean, it's just great.
Those are the kind of things you see when you're out in places like this, where you're out having an adventure in nature, whatever. It's not just about catching fish. It's not just about catching big fish. It's not just about going on a hunting trip. It's all the things that you experience as part of that, whether it's a show from Mother Nature or an experience like Greg, you took us down the river and you were pointing out things as we go down the river, and you're like, oh, that cabin right there. I'm going to do my Greg Jones impersonation. Oh, that cabin right there. It's from a Les Cuba painting.
Yeah, Les Cuba did a painting up there.
Yeah, and it's the bluebill, I can't remember what it was called.
Bluebill's on the Rainy River, I think it is.
And it's a picture of this cabin on the river with like 3 bluebills, flying in front of it. So as we're going by, what happens but a flock of bluebills fly in front of the Les Cuba cabin. We saw the painting in real life.
Yeah.
Like we got to experience that, and that's just, you don't see that stuff when you're sitting on your couch
It's
at
a
home.
beautiful place, and that those northern lights, if you're fortunate enough to catch them when the ice is out there, if you're out there in a sleeper or spending the night, it's really spectacular then.
Greg, you kind of grew up on this river.
Yeah, it's been in my family's bloodline for a long time. I have lived in the South to go back and forth, but my grandpa, he was going into Canada in the 20s, and the car broke down on one of the trips, and they got it repaired and bought it and started fishing here, and that's kind of how it all started. So it's I fished on the lake for 70s, 80s, into the 90s, or the river, excuse me, and then eventually started to, as the boats got bigger, started to adventure out on the lake, and pretty much have covered a lot of water from 40, 50 miles to the east, 40, 50 miles to the west. Love the place.
How do you think you've caught more walleyes here on the Rainy River and Lake of the Woods, or filmed more Midwest Outdoors TV shows? Which one do you think?
Both, yeah. We were catching walleyes long before Midwest Outdoors came along, but it's always been a family tradition. It gets in your blood, especially the family always did. School got out, the next day we got in the car, and we were up here for a week in be the 1st of June, and then the fall trip was always there too. So and
You have your family up here now, don't you?
yeah, mom and dad are out to the west, and over the years I got buddies coming up. They've actually started to bring their kids, and it's just kind of something that gets passed along. And a lot of it's the great fishing, but a lot of it's escaping the city and getting into a place where there's some space to relax and enjoy. And this fall especially, everybody's always in a good mood here, but it seems like the fall is kind of a special breed that likes to come up. You got the grouse hunting going on. If you wanted to do some waterfall hunting, you could, but everybody's always chasing them walleyes. We got some tasty ones right in front of us right now.
Those are the ones we caught.
Yeah.
And you guys are cooking them up for us, which is great. And there's water. Speaking of waterfowl, there's geese all over the place right now, and there's actually quite a few ducks. We saw quite a few ducks winging around out there right now. And Greg, when you leave Lake of the Woods and you're headed south, and when we say south, we're not talking about Texas or Arkansas, Dena. She's from the south. Yeah. You're talking about southern Minnesota, central Minnesota, for that matter. When you leave Lake of the Woods, do you get out of the parking lot and then turn around and be like, I can't leave?
About 72 hours down there. That's about enough. One traffic jam, a trip to the cities, and that's enough. We're out of there, But it's a different lifestyle. Lake of the Woods County is the only county I know of where there is no stoplight, not in the whole county, so
I
just
love
a
it.
different.
That's crazy.
A lot of back roads to go if you want to go grouse hunting. There's a lot of state forest out there, so down in that country you got to knock on a lot of doors and know somebody to get out hunting, or hit the wildlife managements. Here south of town and off to the west or the east, it's all pretty much state forest, so there's a lot of places to go hunting. And as far as the fishing goes, you got boat landings up and down the river, and you've got the wind can blow a little bit here, so you learn to play the wind and move around to the different places to get on the lake. You got public accesses, and then there's some private accesses you can pay to get on, but maybe cost you $10 or $15, but if you took off out of here and drove that far by boat, you'd burn more in gas anyway. So we're all kind of
easy to trailer and just go wherever you want to go.
Yep.
And the shiners are in the river.
Shiners are in the river. We're kind of in that transition time. The water temp's still 60 degrees, which is very unusual for this time of year. So we're in, and it's about ready to change. Like I said yesterday when we were up by Clemenson, that was the first snow buntings I seen. And that's always a sign of fall is about to arrive. I found it interesting that we didn't see them on the road, too. We saw them on the bank of the river, so it was like they maybe just flew in last night or something. But keep hearing about weather out to the west and snow in Montana, and we know it's coming this way, so it's about ready to change. And that's where I got the ice fishing clothing along, and that's really what I want on right now. Colder the better this time of year, and that brings the fish in. But the bait's definitely in the river.
Yeah.
We've got a little bit of rain, so everywhere in the whole state it's been dry. Current's down a little bit, but some more rain in the forecast, so that's what we're looking for. Want the water temps down and the current to come up.
We should mention that today we're recording this on October 12th, my mom's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom, by the way. It's Tuesday night, so if you're listening to this on the radio, we recorded this a couple days ago. But if you're watching the podcast, we probably recorded this a couple days ago, too.
Happy birthday, Brett's mom.
She says thank you very much. And she loves all of us, I'm sure is what she would probably say after that. The shiners, when we were fishing up, when we got into that bay up there was just thousands of them jumping all over the place.
Oh, they were thick in there, and it's something that's gone on for decades, before they put regulations on the minnows, how you could harvest them or how you can gather them. We used to bring cheesecloth and clothespins and put them in the dip net or the landing net and stick the net down, and you'd have your bait for the day. I mean, can't do that anymore legally. So, but long ago that was it's just a gathering spot. For years I thought they were spawning. That would be your natural instinct, but it's actually a feeding run. Those same minnows spawn on the shorelines outside of Pine Island and off to the west in June, and it's one of the most incredible bites you can bump into. That's the neat thing about this place. Once you learn the rotation of the fishing seasons, I guess that's kind of, I don't really go by the calendar. I go by what the fish are doing.
Right.
And we got deer season coming up and got hunting season, and everybody's going to be itching for first ice. It's a good time to get out there, and there's.
So when you talk about like the shiners in the river and then the walleyes running up to the river, obviously some fish are always kind of probably moving in or maybe moving in and out or whatever, but you made it sound like it's this big mass migration. Like all of a sudden, bam, a light switch flips, and boom, a mass of walleyes will move in.
Yeah, the current dictates it when the bait moves in. Like we were kind of joking around out there, but it'd be fun to sit out there in 4 Mile Bay on a nice flat, calm night. I've heard a lot of speculation, but if you think about it, it's 4 foot out there crossing there, so you're probably not going to venture across there in big 3-4 foot waves, but you get a nice flat, calm night, cold temperatures, and a bunch of minnows going in. If I was a walleye, I'd follow them.
Right.
Shiners are got to be good to eat. They love them. So, but that, different each year. But when they get going, you can have some of the best fishing of your lifetime. And they'll be in the river throughout the winter. Springtime, it's real popular to fish in April. A lot of people know about that. But once that spawn's done, those fish dissipate. There's some big ones left in the river, but most of those fish drop back out. And I think, from what I can gather, they say only 15 to 20% of the fish in the lake actually spawn in the river. So there's always plenty of fish in the lake too, but it's a cozier feeling catching them in the river.
So is that 2 million walleyes then? Is that?
Something like that. And you can wave to the Canadians over there.
Jeez. Well, we spent some time in the river because we were fishing out of some smaller boats. And when you think of Lake of the Woods, there's occasionally time for some smaller boats, but these were canoes. And Dena, you're like, let's go fish out of canoes on the Rainy River in October. And I was like, you're crazy, right? Are you serious? But we did it, and it was beautiful. And it was calm, and it was like sunny and like glass. I don't know if Paul and Brian, I don't know if you guys have seen the pictures yet, but it was like a perfect sunset on the river. And she was back, we were taking pictures of her fishing out of the canoe behind us, and we were fishing by the rapids, and it was beautiful. It was way cool. Gorgeous. And tell us about the canoe that you were fishing out of.
So it's made by a skeef. And mine's the Adirondack, and I really like it because it only weighs 40 pounds. So, for me by myself, when they're heavy, like I have a lot of kayaks, but they're really heavy, and I'm dragging them and, trying to get them on top of the car before. Now I have a cool new trailer, but I try to get them on top of the car and everything else, and it's just a hassle. And with this one, it's very easy to pick up. Well, I even saw you, and I turned around, and you came walking up with it. I was like, oh, you've got to,
I was carrying it with one hand. Like, I was just grabbed it with one hand and was carrying it up from the landing.
Yeah.
I do girls. I pick things up and put them down. It's canoes.
Paul Bunyan
Yeah, Paul Bunyan, curling canoes. Yeah, and as far as getting around in that thing, it was pretty easy to maneuver and handle fish with.
Mm-hmm.
Stable.
Yeah, it was very stable because I'm used to standing up in kayaks, and at one point, I don't know if you guys heard me, I was like, well, I'm just going to stand up, and I went, I better not do that. But then, when I took it over to the bank that one time, I did, and I was fine.
Yeah, we were watching you do it, saying, don't stand up. don't do it. But you stayed dry though, so that was good. It was comfortable.
Yeah, very comfortable, and I liked how easy it was to maneuver, like trying to get around the boat or get over to you guys, because I kind of wondered how that would be with the current and everything. But I mean, it was great.
No, and it was fine. And I know on the Rainy you can navigate and fish with some smaller boats, and I think those canoes, I think that'd be a lot of fun to come up here and fish on obviously anywhere you go, you want it to be fairly calm when you're in a canoe, whatever. But it was great for us out there and caught some fish that we're currently eating right now.
Yep.
Where are those canoes out of?
Up in Canada.
Canada, yeah, French Canadian.
Right.
That was not a French Canadian accent at all.
That was
oui.
pretty weak. That was pretty weak.
I took French in high school too because we'd go to Canada for fishing trips. So I thought I'd need to learn French because I'm going to go fish in Canada. I didn't need to learn French. They say everything twice. Once in English. Parlez-vous.
Something like that.
Oui, oui.
Something like that. You know that. Talking about those, when Dena got into town, that's the very first question I asked her was the stability. Because I mean, being a guy that grew up as a kid, and that's how we would fish from and swim from, and
Canoes.
Yep, and bow fish and all that other stuff. Deer hunt. We always wound up wet sooner or later. Sooner or later, no matter what it was. You could be the most seasoned guy in a canoe, but your buddy you just put in there is not. So that was the first thing I asked her, is how stable they are. And so hearing that, they sound pretty nice, and I'd like to get in one and check it out myself. So.
Well, if we had more time, we should duck hunt out of the camel one that Dena's got on the trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to get that out there and check it out before I leave.
Yeah.
Squareback.
It's got a square back on it, so we can put a motor on it. You can put a 3-horse outboard on it, or if you want to put a mud motor or a troller or something like that on it. And I'm going to duck hunt out of it this fall. We didn't have time up here, but in that canoe, that camel one, what's really cool about it is it's camel on the inside too.
Right. Well, so is mine. My Adirondack has camo on the inside.
Yeah,
too.
but it's blue, so it's.
Okay.
I think that's more of a fashion statement. Than
Well, yeah, but the inside.
It looks nice. It looks cool.
Flying over.
Yeah, no,
You never
it looks
know.
good. But the other one is like that, like a camel hunting pattern on the inside and the outside, so it'll blend in nice. Because there's a problem that you have a lot of times with duck boats. If you don't have, like my duck boat I don't have a blind on it, so a lot of times it's just transport, and then you get out on an island or in a marsh or wherever, and you get out, and then you got to hide the boat somewhere. So they're always bending cattails, over the side of the boat to hide it. With this, I mean, I'd probably still camo it up and stubble it up a little bit, but when you got that camo on the inside, you can hide it a lot better. And that's what, 70 pounds?
Right.
Yeah. I'm excited to hunt out of that one. And that's a pretty wicked trailer that you got him on right now.
It is.
You got that you got that because you needed a trailer anyway, but you hauled that up here from South Carolina,
North Carolina,
Argentina, North Carolina.
Basically, yeah. I went from Arkansas all the way to Asheboro, North Carolina, to pick it up, turned around, drove it back to Arkansas.
Yeah, and how far is that drive, first of all? Because that's a long drive. That's like 12.
It was 12 and a half hours,
Yeah.
and you lose an hour. You got to remember that too, especially when you're meeting someone to pick up a trailer. And it's On the Water Innovations, by the way, and great guys. And I said, I think I'm in a time warp. They said, why? I said, my clock just changed, and I'm not going to get there till 8:30 tonight. And he goes, how about tomorrow? And I said, you want to meet me at 5 a.m.? He goes, we'll meet you at 8:30 tonight. So, and they said, you're going to be here a while. We've got to walk you through the whole thing. And so I was there till about 9:30. But
so it was Arkansas to South Carolina.
North Carolina,
back to Arkansas.
and then up here.
And then up.
18 and a half hours up here. So for 4 days, I haven't even done the math. How many? So that's basically 24 hours and then 18 and a half hours. And I was sleeping every once in a while to get up here.
That's a lot of windshield time.
Well, it's taken me 12 years to get up here, and I was not going to miss it.
So you just bought that new truck and this new trailer a couple of days ago. You're gonna need new tires already, I think.
Probably.
And
It's already got over 5,000 miles on it. Yeah, and I haven't even had it 10 days.
And a new oil change and some new tires.
10 days. I wonder if that's a record.
I'd probably beat you in that.
That's pretty good. Well, it's a custom trailer. It's got you got two rod lockers on there, and a Yeti strap to it too. It's a pretty cool trailer, and purple ground effects lights on it.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Vikings
Yeah,
fan.
it holds 3 bikes. So these On the Water Innovations builds a lot of. They build trailers and sell them anyway, but then they do a lot of custom builds for a lot of kayak anglers. And that's how I heard about them. And my problem is I guess it's a problem. I'm also a cyclist, and so if I'm carrying a boat trailer, then I don't have my bikes on there because that's a trailer hitch situation. So it's always kind of bothered me because I'm having to move it's a major hassle if I want to go do anything.
Hey, those bikes got a shotgun holder?
Well, I can get
a scabbard
Got the saddle gun going.
So I called the guys and I said, I need to be able to transport my bicycles and my kayaks or canoes, and I've got to carry for work. I need to carry rods and reels and everything else. And he said, okay, how many of this, how many of that, and how many lights do you want? And so it's great when you open up, y'all need to come see it. When you open up each of the boxes, he's got that rigged with lights. So, because a lot of times you're coming off the water in the dark. You have to worry about it. I've got a light switch for the rigging lights on the trailer. And then just part of the regular running lights are those purple LEDs underneath. So it's pretty cool.
Hey, Paul, is it in Greg's contract that he has to sing every night here at the bar, or is it
So many nights a month, and he's got to be close to that quota. He's put some nights in, and
And then there's extra nights when I just feel like singing.
when you just feel like singing.
which has got to be every night, because the entire time in the boat he's just back there singing, running the motor, singing whatever song you're working on or whatever song was in your head.
Yeah, singing makes you happy. Yeah, that's.
Do you got anything for us right now?
My voice is returning.
Oh yeah.
And what were we? Oh, it was the Jimmy Buffett, A Pirate Turns 40. Mother, Mother Ocean, I've heard you call. Wanted to sail on your waters since I was 3 feet tall. Oh, we need the guitar.
I feel like you should
It's in
get a
the
guitar. We
basement.
should dim the lights a little bit, get a live audience in here for the show.
No, it's something I've been doing since I've been about 12. So it's hard to put it that away. Guitars come and find you. And it's because fishing and singing and music, it's all part of it. Having fun.
Hand in hand.
You know,
I'm a professional at having fun.
I don't know how many times I've been on a trip like this at a hunting lodge, fishing lodge, whatever, and inevitably one of the guides or one of the owners or somebody whips out an acoustic guitar. Usually happens about midnight. And there's sometimes
Just before the Northern Lights.
Yeah, sometimes there's a campfire involved, and somebody's always singing. And I feel like at a glow, somebody else was singing a little bit. Weren't you singing over there, Brian? Were you up there?
Oh yeah. I do a little picking myself. It's always a good time. Get together with other guitar players around a campfire. It's I don't want to say it's as magical as the Northern Lights. I would like to think so. But no, it's a blast because then everybody gets into it, and it's that's what it's all about.
When was a glow up here last
Yeah,
time
well-
that we ended up? I don't know if you were in on that. Les Meister was there, but I can remember playing at the Aglow conference.
In that cabin out in the woods.
Yeah, out in somewhat.
Literally.
I don't know where I'm at, but
I was like, where is it? They're like, it's through those woods over there. And if you remember, I think it was trying to rain on us all. And we would huddle up around that campfire and we'd still play, and people came out and sang along, and it was a good time. Yeah.
Sing along songs, those are the best.
Always.
Ones everybody knows the words to.
Yeah.
Well,
that way we don't have to carry them.
Yeah. In case we forget.
Well, you got
Exactly right.
You gotta work the room, right? I mean, you gotta please the crowd when you're up there. Otherwise, you're
What
just singing
song
for
is it
yourself.
you want to hear?
Yeah, that's right.
You know the words?
Could you do some Wheeler Walker for us, right?
I don't know. This goes on.
Yeah, maybe not. Bad idea.
Probably the off camera and off radio, maybe.
Well, I feel like this is kind of a mini Aglow reunion for 4 of the 5 of us,
bit, yeah.
anyway. Greg, we didn't see you out there, but
Yeah, I didn't go to Michigan this year, but
yeah.
sounded like you had fun.
No, there was no,
Yeah, not at all.
there's no fun at all. It's totally all
Get a
business.
bunch of hunters and fishermen together around a campfire. What kind of fun could you possibly have?
Yeah, and that's the Association of Great Lakes Outdoor Writers. For those of you that haven't heard us talk about that, for the last, month and a half, we've probably been talking about it quite a bit on this show right here. But that was in Gaylord, Michigan this year, and we were all out there. And it is business, Paul. Like you said, I mean, I'm not going to say it's all business, but it's a good time. And if you're if you're an outdoor, communicator, in the outdoor industry or content creator or whatever, it's a great experience, whether you're there showcasing products, or if you're there as a creator, or getting stories, or just being able to go out and hunt and fish and do whatever. I didn't have time to do any hunting and fishing out there, but did you fish at all or anything? Or
I did not get a chance to hunt or fish. No, I was all business the whole time. No, I didn't. But the fun part is actually when everybody came back at night and during dinners and just listening to their experiences. That's what's so cool about Aglow, and that's why we're a part of it. Is just a bunch of like-minded people in the outdoor industry making connections and just giving everyone this real roundabout opportunity to share with as many people as possible.
Well, I joked with Brian, with your brother Mark, when we were out there, that even though we were having fun around the campfire when you guys are singing or whatever, it's still kind of business. It's a networking thing, and I feel like you almost get more business, more work done in that type of situation.
Yeah, Aglow has perfected that over the 60-some years they've been in existence, and it's probably, if any business-like association ever really wanted to try to copy an absolute no-brainer for network building, literally open the cooler, have the beers on ice, build a campfire, and have a couple guys with guitars sitting at it. I mean, there's something, let's face it, there's just something when you're sharing a beer with somebody and you're talking stories, and then all of a sudden you realize you've been to the same places, you know the same people, you like to do the same things. All of a sudden it's like, well, what do you do? Oh, I sell Smith's knives, or oh, I'm a PR rep. All of a sudden, boom, magic is made. Well, I've been looking for somebody, no kidding, and then all of a sudden you got a marriage made in heaven like that, business-wise. But to break down the barriers, to break that down, because anybody can walk into your office and say, I want your business, this and that, but to actually see somebody that is out there with you doing what it is that you do and what you love doing, and whether you're selling the products or writing about the products or doing videos or podcasts about the products, whatever it might be, or the destinations, whatever, to see us all together and to meet people, that actually is what builds those bonds and builds that business, and it's great. I mean, it has been a phenomenal experience for me, and I think I've been a member now for, I want to say, since at least '96, and bar none, the best clients that I've ever gleaned out of there, and it has been from there actually, but the most business for any single expenditure I've ever done actually has come from Aglow. That's the honest God truth. I mean, I could go on for, the rest of your podcast about it. I mean, it really is a great organization, and I mean, it brought all of us together right here for Riverbend Resort.
A lot more than I can remember coming to the one up here and not having any clue about anything about social media. And I mean, there was great presentations, and it's.
Dena, you gave one of those presentations, I believe.
I have two of them.
Two of them.
And it's funny because when you want to network with somebody, or you want to do business with a brand out there, and you might have to make a cold call, or you find an email and you try to reach out, next thing you know, you're sitting in this office surrounded by receptionists and four walls and computers. We were sitting there at in the room where everybody gathered after everything was done, and we were just hanging out, having a beer or whatever. At the hospitality suite. Thank you. The hospitality suite. And
it was the Lake of the Woods one, right?
It could have been. Maybe. It was, they all kind of blend together after a while, but
all business.
So, but there's a circle of people standing there, and we're all just kind of talking and having fun, and it's, a little bit of business, but a lot of it's just like, hey, that was a lot of fun today, or who are you, where are you from? And I'm sitting there, just kind of joking around with this guy next to me. I'm like, I don't think I've met you before. Somebody introduced me to, maybe it was you, Dena, that introduced me to him, and oh yeah, I'm the marketing director for Benelli. I'm like, oh, hello. Sober up quickly. All right, nice to meet you. Like, that is something where it would take how many people to get to that guy if I were to try to contact their office directly, you know, or how many times would my phone call go to voicemail before he'd have time to actually probably return my phone call? It'd be hard, but here I am just sitting there talking to this guy for a half hour, no idea who he is, no pressure type situation, just sitting around having a drink with some friends. And here it's somebody that's probably, you know, a pretty good guy to get to know. So, and you know, did you have something, Brian? Did you? Oh, Paul.
Well, actually, so talking about networking and a glow, we just had DU up here, and we had Benelli shotguns, and it's an 828U model, an over under 20 gauge that they were showcasing.
We can talk about that.
We can't show you pictures of it.
Okay, we can talk about. We just can't show it to you. Okay.
But the cool part is that networking, getting some of them brands up here to use Lake of the Woods being the backdrop for a lot of this fishing, hunting, and then this networking, you know, and just to have the location like Lake of the Woods is kind of
you can do everything here.
Absolutely.
You can do anything here. You know, if you had some sort of brand, a canoe, a gun, a boat, a jig, you know, electronics, whatever, grouse hunting, sharptail hunting, duck hunting, whatever. So many things you can do, and we should have been up here a few days earlier to go out with Benelli and DU. I'm just saying, you know, just saying. But I did hear about that, and I was pretty jealous. But we hunted up here a couple years ago, filmed some Prairie Sportsman episodes, and I mean, like,
that was a lot of fun.
Almost blew my shoulder off from shooting at geese so many times. We shot so many geese. It was great.
Part of the reason why.
Grab that microphone right there.
One of the main reasons why Riverbend Resort is a member of a glow is to be able to provide when these different, you know, what do I want to say, relationships are being built. We literally, we're a great destination to come to do these things. That's why you guys are here with us. That's why Benelli and DU came up, and it's through those relationships built. And Lake of the Woods, all of what we have to offer, and of course Riverbend Resort being a great kicking off place, you know, the base camp, so to speak. We got, you know, the bar and restaurant, and of course, you know, wonderful accommodations with our cabins. And you know, it absolutely just brings it all together and seals it up. And I think that's, you know, and I mean, I met Paul a long time ago, but when he became a member and started coming through Glow more and more, the light bulb was going on over his head too, going, my gosh, these guys are talking about doing business, going out and doing this. I'm tossing my hat in the ring and saying, come on up, let's get her done. So I mean, that's kind of cool to bring it full circle that way.
And I think aren't we broadcasting in the Greg Jones wing of River? Because you're just going to live here pretty soon, aren't you, at Lake of the Woods? I mean, this is.
If I didn't have to go to the big city, I never would. Does anybody else want any fish?
I
made one whole basket.
Brad, do you want some fish?
I haven't had any yet. Don't eat all of it.
Yeah, they'll probably burn me up and put me in the river when the end comes. You'll be fishing over me someday.
Let me try one of these. Well, you know, and Dan is normally part of this show, and he's not here with us. I know he's very jealous, but Dena, I thought it was pretty funny. You know, you had Lee Rose with us, you know, and you have one college angler, and Dan, who is part of the Bemidji State fishing team, kind of helped him with a lot of stuff, ran all their social media. Immediately he's FaceTiming all his friends while he's got her there, and she's talking to all his friends at Glow this year.
Oh.
Oh, you didn't know about that? Oh yeah, Lee Rose. So they were all, because Dan's like, Lee Rose is here, and all his friends were jealous, so immediately had a FaceTime and be like, see?
Ah, okay.
So that was pretty cool. So you've got a couple girls that work for you?
Right. That's Lacey Jumper and Lee Rose Koza. And no, I thought it was really cool that, you know, they're about the same age,
right?
You know, and he's working for you, and you're teaching him what you know, and I'm doing the same thing with them, and that really is the next generation. You know, it seems like there's a big gap. You know, we've got people around our age, a little bit younger.
Hey, it's not that big of a gap.
Us 30-somethings.
Whoa.
Yes. All right, I'm old. I'm in the older demographic. How's that?
No, not even close.
But you know, I think it's cool to see them, and it was fun watching them at the campfire and being there, because you notice how they sectioned off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we had them over there, and you've got all the different groups, and I don't know. It's kind of cool to watch it.
That's still networking, right?
Yes.
How do I run my computer?
What's this two-part authentication?
I know we touched on it a little bit, but this is your first time up here to Lake of the Woods, right? Because you lived in Minnesota for a while, but you've never been up here.
Nope. I kept trying to get up here, and something always got in the way.
What do you think?
I love it. I really do. I can't wait to come back for ice.
What was your first impression when you got up here? Was it what you were expecting?
I'm trying to think. I don't know. I don't know what exactly I was expecting, to tell you the truth. I mean, I always heard about Lake of the Woods. I know it's this giant lake, and I believe, and if I'm wrong, then, edit. Kidding. I was told once that if it was entirely in the U.S., it would be the largest Great Lake. Is that true or not? Is it not?
Sure.
It's because it's not. No, I mean, because it's not one of the Great Lakes. Because it's not.
It really is
That's
that
what I
big.
was told.
No,
I don't know. Y'all can laugh at me. I know this is being recorded.
I think
but
it's considered it would be the 6th Great Lake because of its shoreline, total shoreline.
Okay.
1 million square miles, and
so I was close. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
something like
It's
that,
huge.
right? Okay.
I mean, it's huge.
All right,
It-
I'm getting there. It's taking me.
And
a
it
while,
goes
but-
forever into Canada. And we have 3 islands, and they have 8 million, right? Isn't that how it works?
But I thought it was really neat how everything seems close knit along the shoreline of the river, which was really cool. And I haven't got to explore much yet because I've been fishing so much, but I'm going to get out and check it out. And I want to look at the parks and, a lot of the other things out here too. And then keep fishing.
Fishing is.
And then what did you tell me? Did you say 70 or 75 miles of river that I could?
So is it
canoe?
75 miles from I Falls
40.
to the?
It's probably more than that.
42,
It's
is it?
46 by water to get to Birchdale, basically. So
46.
I bet you're
Grab that
close.
microphone there,
Close.
Greg.
It's 46 by water to get to Birchdale, and you probably got another 46 to I Falls. It gets skinny on top of that, so navigation gets a little more challenging there. But the run from here to Frontier is pretty. Nothing really to get in the way. Silver Creek, I guess, is the one that goes back to the history. They used to log a lot up here, and there's old cribs in there, but the channel is marked. You got the old red right return, When you're coming back, keep the red on your right. When you're going up, the red's on your left. So, but it is, there's a lot of room, and it's amazing how far them fish will swim. I mean, I think they're kind of what's going on now. I think they're like geese, when you talk hunting, when they
Migrate?
When they go on a migration, you get 10,000 birds flying over you. It's not, you ain't gonna get them to come down to the decoys, but once they find the area that they're gonna settle into, then the hunting gets real good. And I have seen, there was one year up by Frontier, it was about 2 miles of river that was top to bottom marks on the graph, and you could find the ends of it, and both ends, and you could see it was moving. We couldn't catch fish in it, but it was one of the most amazing things I ever seen on a depth finder, and it was like, wow. And that's the only thing it could have been was a bunch of walleyes on the move, and they were using the whole water column from the top to the bottom and tried everything imaginable to get them to bite. But wherever those fish settled in at, they would have been catchable at that point. But it's like I said, with the geese migrating, I think almost once they get on the move, they get going, and it's hard to change their minds until they find where they want to settle down at.
What's your biggest walleye up here?
Well, biggest that's been in the boat.
Or biggest in your boat. Let's
Biggest
do
in
that.
the boat, yeah. That was 33 7/8, and there was a 33 1/8. 33 1/8 came out of the lake, and the 33 7/8 came out of the river. So we're shooting for 34 every year. We
they're
haven't
out
got
there.
there yet, but I'd like to skip 34 and just get to 35.
Yeah, I like the way you think. So when you talk about those migrations out here too, wasn't there a story a couple of years ago about a tag sturgeon that either came from here and went way north, or was way north and came into the river, got caught down here and was tagged, way up in the northern part of the lake in Canada somewhere?
I guess I don't know that particular story, but those sturgeon are amazing too. I mean, I've fished them many a times, and there's a time frame. It's usually late May into early June. There's Rapid River's one place where you can actually go see them with your eyes. You know, I mean, if it was 200 years ago, we'd been there and grabbing them to feed ourselves, basically. And it goes on in a few places, but it's one of those spectacles of nature, you know, better than any TV show. You could sit there for hours and just watch it happen.
Can't you pretty much walk across that bay when?
Well, you just watch them come up in the rapids, and they're there to spawn, basically. You know, DNR keeps a pretty good eye on it.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of self-regulates, but you know, you can't go touch them or anything like that. But
Right.
there are, you know, a place like that has been drawing people to it ever since there's been people. You know, now we go to watch. A long time ago, you went there to stay alive.
Yeah. Can I ask you about management on this lake a little bit? Because I think the DNR does a pretty good job up here. They got their hands full, and you're working with Canada and Ontario, and that's not always an easy thing to do, to work with another agency like that when it comes to management. But aside from even what's happened in the last couple of years with COVID and the increase of pressure on this lake, some limits have changed a little bit, and we're still seeing more and more people fish out here, particularly in the winter. What do you foresee for the future? Do you see a potential reduction more of limits? Do you think what effect would that have in your mind, or do you think that could happen?
You know, it's I guess got to get into the numbers. The other thing that's hard to factor in, like you said, a lot of the lakes in Canada, you know, those fish there's no fence out there keeping them. They can take off and swim north through.
As long as they have their shots, I think they can go back and play.
Yeah, exactly. I think when you know, you're looking at anything like that, when you know a lake goes on a tough bite, a lot of times it's because there's plenty of food. So as long as the food source, I mean, we've seen that on other lakes. You know, Mille Lacs would be a good example. I mean, I literally took a piece of bubble gum out of my mouth, put it on a jig, and caught a walleye on it. And that's because them fish they looked terrible. They didn't. I mean, these fish look healthy.
Right,
so,
right.
And, you know, last couple of days, you've seen plenty of small fish. I mean, obviously they're spawning. I mean, and all summer long, I've seen plenty of, you know, 6-8 inch fish getting. I mean, we had one get kicked out today that was. I mean, that come out of a 15, 16 inch walleye. You know, that he ate something that was 6 inches long. So,
which is a great sign for you know, a naturally reproducing lake, is to see that size class. You know, those, I believe they say, are in the first 2 years of their life when they're in that 6 to 12 inch range. That's what I've heard. But I mean, there's been a lot of them, and I just. It's a healthy lake.
Producing the year classes, you know, and once they get over that, you know, there's 19 and a half to 28, it's mandatory release, you know, when they first, I can remember being in the boat with Grandpa up when they first changed that, you know, he didn't like that. And he would kind of,
I bet.
Really knows what Alzheimer's was back then, but we'd put them fish in the live well, and then when Grandpa wasn't looking, I'd reach in the live well and let them over the side, you know. Done the same thing with big bluegills on lakes when it was, we got to keep them, and then I'm going to go put the boat in and drop it off back here. I'm going across the lake, and then
putting some back.
Them 10.5 inch bluegills are going back in the lake. We ain't going to clean them, you know. So,
well, I'll tell you what, the slot limit here, when they put that slot on this lake, I think it was the best thing that they ever could have done here. I think that has definitely contributed to what this fishery has become.
Winter pressure is definitely there, but you know, a lot of people out there in the winter are, I mean, some are fishing hard, some are just to have fun, bringing their families up, and a little more like ice camping.
Sure.
You know, and it depends on what's going on. Some of those really heavy pressured years, you got too much snowfall and bad ice conditions in places. It pushed everybody here, you know. So, but and a lot of times, I mean, I spend a lot of time in the shallow water, and I'm a long ways away from where all the ice houses are, you know. So, you know, those fish don't necessarily swim to where the ice houses are.
Right, for sure.
So. They do different things. Last winter, we were on up here. There was a pattern where them fish were swimming 5 to 10 feet below the ice, and that throws a lot of people. It was hard. I sat and fished them with a flasher, and it was like, oh, this is frustrating. I caught one finally, and then Paul had a group. They were from New York. And I remember talking to him. I said, "You got any tip-ups?" "Yeah, we got 10 of them." I said,
there you go.
It's a beautiful day finally. It had been 40 below for 2 weeks. It's like, why don't you put them tip-ups out 5-10 feet below the ice, see what happens. And you could see them running around from a mile away. They were catching fish. So they'll do things that people don't necessarily think walleyes will do, you know.
Well, it's just that old adage, you don't have to chase the crowds. Sometimes it's best to get away from them, too.
Yep.
You know, where there's a lot of people fishing. That gets pushes fish around a little
Yep.
bit sometimes.
They will adjust to it, and they'll do different things. I mean, there's different forage bases here. I mean, there's a time when they really get on the crawdads out there. They eat a lot of
Oh,
crawdads.
yeah.
And
I've seen it.
you know, it's not only the shiners. The shiners have these couple windows. They'll be on the bait most of the summer, but there's a time when they switch off to crawdads, and you know, perch doesn't seem to be as much of a forage base here as in other places. There's some really big perch out there, that's for
Yeah.
sure. But those perch, they'll be, you know, they'll kick out dragonfly larvae and all kinds of different weird critters, bloodworms or something you'll see on your anchor out here. And I mean, all the fish, it's the whole cycle, the whole food chain is out there, you know, and that's what makes it go.
This is an amazing place that everybody should come and take a trip here. And then for your second choice or third choice, I've got a few favorite places on the planet. Saskatchewan, of course, being one of them, but Alaska would be another one that'd be really cool to go. And you guys are going to leave one great place to go to another great place. Paul and Brian, you guys are going to go from walleyes to halibut?
Absolutely. We leave tomorrow for Kodiak Island.
Man.
So we're heading up there. Actually, my brother asked us if we wanted to come up and, you know, do some fishing, and oh my God, it'd be really cool. We're gonna go in October. It's a great time. And I'm kind of looking at him going, man, that's wind of 70-mile-an-hour straight line winds, you know, start blowing through there. And I'm like, yeah.
Deadliest catch.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And so then Paul was like kind of sitting with an earshot, and he turns around and he's like, hey, I'll go. I'll help. You know, I'll go up there and catch some fish. It'll be fun. And Mark's like, oh yeah, that'll be great. Awesome. So he gets us hook, line, and sinker to do it, right? We're going up there. This is when we're going. And then he goes, yeah, we'll get a couple 3 days maybe into fishing and stuff. And we're like, what? And he goes, yeah, we got to side my house.
Joke for the juvenile bears that are hanging around.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, and then we just got this this alert from, because we're going out to a little village on the island called Port Lions, and we just saw on their Facebook page that they have 8 juvenile bears that are hanging out there now. So, you know, they're all 3-year-old. They're definitely bears that'll eat you. Yeah. And so it was just like, be safe and be smart. But anyway, so yeah, they're hanging out before they, you know, they're just roaming around. Mom's already kicked them out. So now they're trying to figure out
Where to go.
to get their dry goods, you know?
Right. Well, it's that time of year. It's a transition time, so it's a good time. Paul, probably for you, it's probably the only time you can really get away to do something like this, because you're kind of transitioning to the winter season now.
Yeah, so the fall time, obviously, you know, the culmination of all the fall colors and the hunting and the spring or fall run, and then there's this time where it gets cold, and it's too cold to fish, and it's really too cold to hunt unless you're deer hunting, and everyone's kind of out in their deer stands, and it's quiet time. It really is. And so November is kind of nice to hit the reset, freshen everything up, get ready for winter.
Yeah. Well, winter season, you got some rentals. You got some new sleepers, don't you?
Yeah, we added 2 new sleepers last year. Pretty plush, really nice decked out sleepers. We actually did a show with Greg on Midwest, kind of showcasing those. So, you know, definitely go on Midwest and check that show out. We're adding 1 more of those this year to the fleet. So we'll have 3 brand new ones. We have, and they're 5-person sleepers.
Rose City makes them, or where you
Yeah,
get?
Rose City Sign out of Rose City, Minnesota,
Yep.
made these. They made 5 new 6-man day houses for us, kind of same setup, same size. And then, so we have 8 sleepers total in the fleet this year, and 26 day houses, and plenty of lodging for anybody that wants to come up this winter and fish with us.
And Brian, we can see all that stuff on the website.
Yep, everything's on the website. We even have a tour of one of our new sleepers on the website. And you know, the thing about you talk about the evolution of different things. It's not like a scene from Grumpy Old Men. I mean, it's like you're going in and there's a kitchen, there's an oven.
It's like a house.
There's a big screen TV.
It's a cabin.
Yeah, exactly right. Very comfortable. They're all heated. Absolutely. They're plush. Wonderful accommodations out on the ice. If that's your thing. If you've never experienced that before, that is really something to put on your bucket list, because that is a lot of fun to go out there. And then, you're sleeping and you put the little bell on your ride, and it wakes everybody up.
It's a race.
Oh, it's awesome.
It's a race.
Yeah, it is.
When
It's
you
a
hear
race.
that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So.
You don't want to get beat when it's the 30 hooking up when you're sleeping.
That's
You don't want
right.
to get beat
That's
to the hole. All right, we'll run through the website and social media places and the platforms where we can find you guys.
All right, so obviously it's riverbendresort.com. And then on Facebook, we're, again, riverbendresort.com, or are we still Riverbends?
Riverbend Resort and Walleye Inn.
Riverbend Resort and Walleye Inn.
Yeah.
So on Facebook. And then, you literally follow us through all those things. We do have an Instagram handle. I'm not too keen on the Instagram side.
Riverbend Resort Low.
LOW, that's right. So, and I apologize for that, all you guys that love Instagram out there, but I'm just not, I'm on it, but I just don't sit on it, so I apologize.
Dena can give a quick tutorial on.
I noticed she was giving me the evil eye there. I could feel it. I could feel it kind of burning the side of my face.
I thought it might have been Greg, because Greg loves Instagram.
Yeah, sure. I
No,
might be on it. I don't know.
I don't know. I was going to say, no, he doesn't.
Snap too. There's probably a lot of people that have actually been here to Riverbend before, and the bar here is actually called Miles Lab. Actually, Miles is someone, the dog that was here with us for, I don't know, how long was Miles with us?
All the 10 years that we've been here at Riverbend.
Yep. And we lost Miles about a week ago, so it stuck us pretty hard. I mean, dogs don't live long enough, but if you're listening to this and you've been to the resort and you probably gave Miles a chunk of bacon, he's no longer with us, but we sure do miss him.
We do, absolutely.
Yeah, you guys had a memorial for him here in the bar the other day.
Yeah, Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday. That was a good turnout, actually. It was kind of neat. It was neat. Like, the people that he actually interacted with, people that we had never met but that had come in on an occasion for dinner or birthday lunch or whatever it was, had met him, and it was just kind of neat to see the reach that he had as a resort dog.
Miles was known in the neighborhood. There's many stories. The neighbor resort called one day and said, "Your dog's in the cabin watching TV."
Yeah. So he went into one of the cabins, and the housekeeper's like, no big deal. And so he's up on the couch, he's watching TV. And so the housekeeper leaves the cabin. The group comes and checks in, and they said, "Oh, is this normal that there's a dog that comes with our cabin?" And so the manager from that resort calls me up and says, "Hey, are you missing your dog?" And I said, "We've been looking for him for like 2.5 hours." "Oh, well, he's in the lodge now. He was in the cabin. The guests found him just hanging on the couch watching TV." So it was, he was a nut. He was so cool.
He's a good dog.
We're gonna miss him.
Yeah, for sure. All right. And Dena, we should say King Eider Communications. Where can we find everything that you're doing?
It's KingEiderPR.com is the website.
King Eider.
And the brands that we're working with and the different services we provide are on there.
Very good. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for being on the show. Had a great time.
Thanks, Brett.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go put a big one in the boat in the morning.
Go fishing.
All right. Thank you for watching.
Northern Minnesota's Walleye Factory is a year-round world-class fishing destination. The perfect getaway this summer is just a short drive to Lake of the Woods. Fish Big Traverse Bay, the Rainy River, or visit the unique Northwest Angle. To catch big fish, you have to go where the big fish are. Plan your trip to Lake of the Woods at lakeofthewoodsmn.com. That's lakeofthewoodsmn.com. Sporting Journal Radio is a division of Macaba LLC. If you've got a question, comment, or story idea for us, send us an email. Go to sportingjournalradio.com. While you're there, you can learn how to advertise on the show and visit our store for hats, hoodies, coffee mugs, and more. Go to sportingjournalradio.com.